All right, so let me tell you this story. It all kicks off at one of those tense family dinners. You know the kind. Nice house, smells like good food, but you can just feel something is about to break. And it does. Not with a big explosion, but with a single, incredibly cruel question.
You know, the night that completely changed Clara's life, it didn't start with yelling or anything like that. It started quietly. It started with a toast from her father, Martin. But this was no celebration. Oh no, this was a public ambush, perfectly timed for when the whole family was watching.
So there he is, bourbon in hand, a little smirk on his face, and he says that. He's not really asking a question, is he? He's making his own daughter the punchline to a joke, and he fully expects her to just take it, just like she always has.
But here's the thing. To really get what's going on in that moment, we gotta go back, way back. Because an explosion like this doesn't just happen. It's been building up for years, one quiet sacrifice at a time, until the whole thing was just ready to blow. See, Clara figured out pretty early on that her job in the family wasn't really to be a daughter or a sister. She was something else. She was the support system, the one person who was always expected to catch everyone else.
I mean, think about that. She was basically a resource, not a relative. Her value wasn't about who she was. It was about what she could give. Her job description? Fix problems, pay for things, and do it all without a single complaint or ever asking for anything back.
And you can just see how this pattern gets worse and worse over time. It starts with her childhood savings for science camp, $268, and just snowballs from there. Before you know it, she's draining her own emergency fund for her brother's rent, putting her name on the lease for her dad's truck, and even footing the bill for a family Disney trip on her credit card. Every time, it just made it more normal. But she was the family ATM.
And that's the truly heartbreaking part, right? They only ever seemed to notice her when they needed something. The phone would ring, it'd be a crisis, she'd solve it, and then poof, she was invisible again until the next time they needed her.
So this whole one-way street she was on was already starting to crumble. But then, just 3 days before that dinner, a phone call from her brother Nathan came, and that was it. That was the last thread snapping. Nathan calls her up with this huge ask, $50,000. Well, actually, he needed her to co-sign a $50,000 loan for his, get this, artisan pet products business. And he just casually says it's nothing for someone like you, like her money was just a public fountain he could drink from whenever he felt like it. The second Clara said no, his whole vibe just flipped. That fake charm, gone. Replaced by this cold, nasty entitlement. He calls her selfish, starts going off about how dad was right about her, even questioning what right she had to her own money. It was the same old insult they always used. And right there, that was the moment everything became crystal clear for her. He wasn't mad that she couldn't help. He was furious that she wouldn't, that she dared to step outside the role they'd written for her. And for the first time, Clara realized she was done. The Bank of Clara was officially closed. Okay, so let's jump back to that dinner table. Her father stands up, ready to deliver his little public execution with that toast. He's expecting her to just fold, to shrink. But what he doesn't get is that he's talking to a completely different woman now. Instead of caving, she just calmly picks up her own wine glass, looks him dead in the eye, and flips the whole script on him. Her words just dropped into that silent room like a grenade, and that smirk on her father's face, yeah, it was gone. And when she stood up and walked out of there, wow, the entire power dynamic of that family just shattered in an instant. She wasn't just leaving a room, she was walking off the set of a play she'd been forced to act in for 20 years. And that cold night air, it felt like the first real, honest breath she'd taken in a long, long time. But it wasn't over, not by a long shot. The next morning, guess who shows up at her apartment, all red-faced and furious? Her father and brother, of course, demanding she get back in line. Oh, but Clara was ready for them. She wasn't going to get into some screaming match. Nope, she had something waiting for them on her coffee table. A single manila folder that held a secret she'd been keeping for a decade, a truth that was about to bring their whole world crashing down.
She just let her father open it. And inside was the proof of everything. First, a loan agreement for almost 20 grand that she'd taken out to cover his secret gambling debts.
Then, a foreclosure notice from 10 years ago, showing they were literally days away from losing the house. And finally, the legal papers showing how a 25-year-old Clara had taken on all that debt herself to save them.
And then came the final blow, the knockout punch. Because she had paid off that secret loan, she had legally become the lien holder on the property. For the last 10 years, without any of them having a clue, she owned the family home. The whole image her father had built for himself just dissolved, right there on her couch.
With the truth finally out in the open, Clara just laid it out for them. She was selling the house. Her mom, for the first time ever, she was going to have a choice in her own future. But her dad and her brothers, they were on their own. The safety net was gone, for good.
You know, what happened next wasn't some big, angry quest for revenge. It was something much quieter, much more deliberate. It was the process of building a brand new life from the rubble of the old one.
So you flash forward 8 months, and the scene is just completely different. It's Clara and her mom living together in a new apartment, and instead of all that tension, there's just this quiet companionship. They're actually looking at old photos and being honest about them for the very first time.
I mean, the change was just total. Her life went from being a series of transactions to actually having a future. She swapped out that silent survival mode for a real quiet companionship. She stopped being their safety net and finally started building her own life with her own 2 hands.
And really, that's what this whole story is about. It was never about getting even. She didn't need to win some family argument. She needed to be free. The real win wasn't beating them. It was finally getting to build a future that was 100% hers.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? I mean, this is one woman's story, but it's about something we can all relate to, valuing yourself. It makes you stop and think, what was the moment in your own life that finally taught you to choose yourself?